Good morning, students. So this is time for our science class. We are in chapter 5, plant reproduction. We already finished the chapter. I think you all read the chapter thoroughly. And in our previous class, I already discussed the objective type questions and answers on this chapter. Now today I am going to tell you the question answers and the differentiate between them and give reasons, etc. So let us start. You all should copy these questions and answers in your class copy, and then you all memorize these question answers. Okay? Now I am going to tell you. Firstly, answer the following questions. Write about different ways in which plants can reproduce. The answer is, plant can reproduce in different ways. These are reproduction through seeds. Next, reproduction through different plant parts. There are two processes by which plants can reproduce through their own parts like roots, stems, spores or leaves. Those are natural vegetative reproduction and artificial vegetative reproduction. Next, what is fertilization? After a successful pollination, a thin tube called pollen tube extends from the pollen grain to the ovary through pistil. The pollen tube contains male cells which move into the ovule to form zygote. This process of fusion of male and female cell is called fertilization. Next question, number 3. What is micropyle? There is a tiny pore on the seed coat on the opposite of the tip of the radicle. It is called micropyle. Next, question 4. What is germination? How it takes place? When a seed grows into a seedling, it is called germination. The baby plant inside a seed has a baby shoot called as plumule and a baby root called as radicle. The shoot part, plumule, is pulled upwards, baby plant comes out, stem grows longer and leaves appear, and the cotyledons fall off. Thus the process of germination completed. Next, explain the structure of a seed. A seed has 4 main parts. These are seed coat, hard protective cover of the seed, micropyle, tiny hole to allow water inside it. Inside the seed, cotyledons, seed leaves to provide food for embryo, baby plant which has 2 parts, root part called radicle and shoot part called plumule. Okay? Now, what is dispersal of seeds? Dispersal of seeds means scattering of the seeds far from the parent plant before they touch the soil. Next question, what is embryo? How it gets food and water? Embryo is the baby plant in the seed with a tiny shoot and root. It gets its food from cotyledon or seed leaves and get water through the tiny hole on the seed coat called micropyle. Next question, what conditions are needed for germination? When a seed becomes a seedling or a young plant, it is called germination. Necessary conditions for germination are appropriate amount of warmth and sunlight, appropriate amount of air, appropriate amount of fresh air. Next, what are the different methods of seed dispersal? Seeds can be dispersed in 4 natural ways. These are dispersal by wind, dispersal by animals, dispersal by water, and explosion of the fruit. Question 10. Explain the process of explosion. Give examples. Explosion is a process of seed dispersal. The pod with the seeds bursts open and shoots the seeds out and away from the parent plant. Peas, beans, lady's finger, etc. use this method of dispersal. Next, what is vegetative reproduction? Question number 11. Plants can reproduce through their body parts like stem, roots and leaves. This kind of reproduction is called vegetative reproduction. Question number 12. How reproduction through spores take place? Ferns and mosses do not produce flowers. They produce tiny spores. These spores fall on the ground and grow into new plants. What is artificial vegetative reproduction? The man-made process of growing new plants from the parent plant using different plant parts is known as artificial vegetative reproduction. Next question 4. What are different types of artificial vegetative reproduction? Answer. Different types of artificial vegetative reproduction are as follows: by layering, by stem cutting and grafting. What is grafting? The next question is question number 15. What is grafting? Grafting is a process of artificial vegetative reproduction. In this process, 2 small branches are cut and joined together using a wet sterile cloth. The upper part called scion and the lower part is called stalk. 2 branches fuse and in 2 or 3 weeks, new shoots develop from the scion. Rose, mangoes, etc. are the plants commonly propagated in this way. Next question, give reason. Under this type of questions, the first question is, plants depend on wind or insect for seed dispersal. Answer, as the plants cannot move, so they depend mainly on wind or insect to scatter their seeds. Question number 2. A lot of baby plants lead to death when grown near the parent plant. Answer is, when all the baby plants grow near the parent plant, there would not be enough sunlight, food, water and space for every plant to grow, which lead to death of many of them. 3. Some seeds have wings or long and fine tufts of hair on them. These wings and tufts of hair enable them to float in the air and get carried away. Next question is, some seeds have spongy and fibrous outer coats. Some seeds like coconut and lotus have spongy outer coats which enable them to float in water and scatter away. Next type of questions are differentiate between them. The first of this type of question is, number 1 is sexual and vegetative reproduction. Sexual reproduction and vegetative reproduction. You have to make 2 columns here. Under that, the point 1 is A is sexual reproduction involves the fusion of gametes. Next here, vegetative reproductions. Vegetative reproduction create new plants from the parts of parent plant. Next B, fertilization takes place here, sexual reproduction. And under vegetative reproduction, no fertilization occurs. Next question 2, natural and artificial vegetative reproduction. Natural vegetative reproduction and artificial vegetative reproduction. 2 columns are here. And the first point is, this type of reproduction occurs naturally in plants and this process occurs under the influence of man. Question point B. Next point is B. This is done by stem, root and leaves, and this process is done by cutting, layering and grafting, etc. Question 3. Seed dispersal and germination. Seed dispersal, germination. Seed dispersal is scattering of seeds and germination is the process by which a baby plant produces from seed. So, these are the questions on this chapter, and we already finished the chapter and discussed all the question answers on this chapter. And I'll give you the PDF of the whole chapter's question answers and the objective type questions. You all please write it down in your school copy and try to memorize. Okay. So this much for this day, today's class, and bye till our next class.